Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Dine Around Downtown, Cooking at Home Edition. If you are new to the program and have not seen any of our previous episodes, you can check them out along with some of our other upcoming food programming on our website at downtowny.com/dinearound. I'm going to share this with you. My name is Ron Dijon. I am the, oh, my slides aren't working. There you go. My name is Ron Dijon. I'm the event manager for the Downtown Alliance. We are the Business Improvement District office for Lower Manhattan, always striving to help make downtown a cleaner, safer, and more vibrant place to work, live, and visit. One of the ways we do this is by providing support to local businesses. Dine Around Downtown, Cooking at Home Edition began June of 2020 during the height of the pandemic and has been part of the continuing efforts to provide support to local restaurants and food security charities that have been impacted by COVID-19. With the return of our live events in 2022, we now present this virtual series seasonally, and today is our 22nd episode. Thank you for all of you who helped us out and are here to help Lower Manhattan restaurants community through this popular programming. Great. Today, our featured restaurant has chosen Feeding America as their food security charity. To learn more about the organization and how you can donate, visit feedamerica.org for your convenience. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the chat for everyone so they can reference it when they have the chance. There, you should have that. Okay, just a couple of things, housekeeping things that we need to go over before our program begins. We want to let everyone know that this demo is being recorded. It is, we're going to send a link to the recording to everyone who signed up for the program via email tomorrow. So you should get that at some point tomorrow. During the program, if you have any questions for our guest chef or our host, please submit them using the Q&A feature. Now you'll find that if you're using a desktop or laptop, it's usually located at the bottom of the screen. It says Q&A. If you are using a mobile device, such as a phone, iPad, or tablet, you can tap your screen once, and depending on your device, it will either appear on the top right corner or right at the bottom of the screen. So go ahead and check that out. The chat box, we're going to reserve for ourselves to share helpful information and links with you, all of you, while the program is going on. So you can see things pop up. And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys in the chat box. And this is our Post Your Plate contest. That was, yep, our Post Your Plate contest. So if you are following along at home and you're making all the wonderful recipes that we're making today, there's a contest going on where you can share a picture of what you've created and post it on Instagram, and you can win, enter to win a 30-minute private virtual cooking class with tonight's guest chef by simply posting your plate and tagging Dine Around at Home and at Downtown NYC. And don't forget to tag our host and our chef as well, and the restaurant, which we'll share more with you about later. Okay, I think that's it for me. So without further ado, why don't we get cooking? Please welcome James Beard award-winning chef and celebrity chef and New York Times bestselling author, your host, Rocco DiSpirito. Hey, Rocco.
Hey, everybody, I'm here. How are you? What's going on? Thank you so much, Ron. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Shelley, and everyone at the Downtown Alliance for making another delicious episode of Dine Around at Home possible. I'm thrilled to be joining an illustrious chef of a iconic restaurant called Trinity Place soon, who will be making us several St. Patty's Day themed, for lack of a better term, St. Patty's Day adjacent dishes. Certainly one of them, at least one of them, could be served on St. Patrick's Day. And if you're not in the mood to make it yourself, you can always go visit our chef at Trinity Place and have him cook it for you. As always, I'm really appreciative for you, the audience, and for the Downtown Alliance for making these episodes possible. It's a wonderful way for us to connect with you and hear from you and learn from you and teach you a little bit about what's going on in the downtown culinary scene. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest chef today. His name is Chef Donal Crosbie. Donal is Irish for Donald, by the way. So I just learned that today. I thought I'd share it with you. He's been the executive chef of Trinity Place Bar and Restaurant at 115 Broadway downtown for a long time now, since 2006. Before that, he has worked with some of the best chefs on the planet in America on both coasts, like such as Wolfgang Puck and David Boulay and the Morels at Morel Wine Bar. He comes from Ireland originally, started his career at 14 in Dublin, and lucky for us, he came to New York to expand his culinary horizons, and he's here with us now. Chef, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. What's going on in your busy kitchen?
Great, thanks for having me. So looking forward to cooking for everybody.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
You're cooking three dishes today?
3 dishes, yes. Like you said in your intro, it is St. Patrick's Week coming up. It's a big celebration for us Irish and Irish Americans in New York. There's a few of them around in New York. So we have decided to do a couple of dishes that are Irish, as you said, Irish influence, and then we have one that is on our menu. It's kind of one of our staples on the menu. So the two Irish dishes
one that Ron insisted you make, right?
I might have been Craig, actually. I might have missed.
It was Craig. Okay, got it.
I think it was Craig. Yeah, it's one of his. He's been into us many times and he loves it, so he requested it. Yeah. So
is there anything like it in the Irish lexicon? Is something like an onion tart in the Irish lexicon?
Not really, not particularly. Not like it's like this is more of an Alsatian or
right.
A French dish, but it's a crowd favorite, so we haven't taken it off the menu since day one. There is.
Before we get into the dishes, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit about what it was like coming to New York from. Well, I guess you went to the West Coast first. You worked for the easy chefs on the West Coast first. Wolfgang Puck, one of the nicest guys in the business. You opened Spago, which was another iconic restaurant, and then you came to New York. And what you said, it was trial by fire when we were talking earlier.
It was definitely trial by fire. Like I wasn't a spring, like I wasn't wet behind the ears when I got here, but it was still coming to New York. It's literally if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. There's no truer words, because I'd worked in kitchens all over the world, and I'd worked for some tough chefs and been in some pressurized situations, but nothing compared until I got to Danube. And but it was brilliant because I worked with some of the best cooks I ever came across, and it really did. I learned a lot on this. First couple of months were tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It was I lost about 20 pounds, I'd say. I was skin and bone, but, and I had a full head of hair too. So you can see what happened there. But it was a brilliant opportunity.
Chef Boulay took your hair and any extra body fat that you had. Amazing. So you worked for Chef Boulay at Danube, and did you ever work at Boulay across the street?
I did not know. I did actually. Sorry, no, I lie. I covered a couple, and I used to. I'm
sure
when it had private parties, and I did actually quite a bit of catering with Chef Boulay, offsite catering, which is a lot of fun. We'd all pile into the back of a van and drive out to the Hamptons. So that was a change of pace from being in the basement of in Danube and Tribeca for 14 hours a day. So it was great experience all around, and it opened a lot of doors. So that was the whole point of doing it.
Oh, for sure. Chef Boulay knows and knew everybody and had everyone coming through those doors. Danube and David Boulay bring up two of my favorite moments in New York culinary history. Danube, of course, was a love letter to Austrian food, and Gustav Klimt, maybe one of the most beautiful dining rooms I've ever seen in New York City, and right in my neighborhood of Tribeca, which of course is in the Alliance. And then David Boulay, arguably one of the top 3 chefs ever to hit the streets of New York City, and one of our own, and a native New Yorker, or by way of Connecticut, but a true original, a true icon. And I just can't think of another person that exists that's like him. I mean, it must have been pretty eye-opening, especially the first few weeks working for him. I'm pretty sure he threw you in the kitchen, gave you absolutely no instruction, and expected you to perform that night, right?
So you've met him, yes. I think you're familiar with his tactics.
I worked with him. Yeah, I worked with him. Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Remember,
he used to come in and change the menu 5 minutes before service. We'd be prepping all day, all our mise en place and all ready, all brunoise, beautiful. And he'd come in and say, "Right, we're changing the menu," and then it'd just be madness for half an hour getting ready for service that we didn't know about.
Wait a minute,
But
he
yeah.
must have liked you a lot more than me because he told you he was changing the menu. He
Yeah,
actually
there you go.
announced that. The rest of us had to just figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
indeed.
did get to work side by side with him on the line here and there, and I mean, there was just no one who had moves like him. He really knew his stuff, and I miss his
He
cooking to
definitely
this
is.
day. And every time I walk by Boulay and Danube,
Yeah.
I shed a tear because that was
Yeah.
one of the greatest moments in fine dining in New York City. So glad that you got to work with him.
Yeah, it was great. It was, like I said, it opened a lot of doors for me, so it was well worth my hair. It was going to go anyway, so no point in fighting it.
And then you did a full master sommelier course at the Morel Wine Bar right after that.
Well, I tasted a lot of wine. Does that count?
Yeah,
I'm not sure
that's
I
what
did.
I mean. Of course that counts.
Yeah. I'm not sure I got my papers, but I definitely was very lucky as well when I moved to Morels, and because I ended up sous chef in Danube, but like gave me opportunities to be able to get an executive chef position. And my first was in Morels in Midtown, right on Rockefeller Plaza, iconic spot, right opposite the Christmas tree, where the Christmas tree would be, or the ice rink. And they served they're wine merchants, you know who they are. They're wine merchants. They had a wine store next door, but they had 120 bottles by the glass opened every day. So like they'd have a bottle of Chartreuse, that you could buy by the ounce for like $60 if somebody wanted to taste. But it's a Chartreuse, Chateau Chartreuse, like 76 tasted like, and couldn't afford whatever it was, 3 or 4 grand. And I was lucky enough to get a taste down of all these. So it was a brilliant opportunity. And there was a lot of wine dinners,
During the prep, Shelley told me that it was your job to make sure all 120 bottles were in good shape every day. So it must have been fun.
Yeah.
It must have been a lot of laughs.
Yeah, it certainly was.
You ran the kitchen. You ran the kitchen. And then after that, you opened Trinity Place. Yeah,
my business partner, Jason O'Brien. We have 4 restaurants now. He approached me where we became friends. Just through he had a place in the West Village called Papillon at the time, Dublin 6, which is now still going. It's called Hudson Hound. It's in the West Village on Hudson Street between Bank and West 11th, and he was opening. We just became friends just through the Irish diaspora. We didn't know each other. We're both from Dublin. We met here in New York, and he approached me basically when he was opening Trinity, this space. He was looking for a chef. There was nothing in there. It's an old bank vault. I don't know if anybody's been here. It's an old bank vault, and there was.
Yeah, I understand. I understand you had to cut through some steel to get the kitchen built, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was just the full still. The bank vault was still intact. So, and there was no kitchen. And there's a vault within a vault. What's interesting about it is the vault is on top of a vault. So if you walk into Trinity right now in the dining room, the bar, it's you see the 2 doors, but the kitchen is actually a vault as well. So where the kitchen is in the basement, it's a double vault. So we had to cut through all the steel to be able to get to the kitchen and make a back door for deliveries. But Jason asked me, he didn't have his experience was front of house, doing the bar and front of house. So he was looking for a chef to basically design the kitchen. So it was an amazing opportunity for me to design a kitchen. It's every chef's dream. We always, as when we move into kitchens, we always give out about like, who put that sink there? It makes no sense, or something doesn't work about it. So to be able to do it yourself, and you can't blame anybody but yourself if it doesn't work out. And then we opened in 2006, and it was great. I mean, we had 2 incredible years, and then the crash, of course, in 2008 happened. We got a bit of a setback then. When there was the financial crash. Obviously, we're just 2 blocks from Wall Street, so a lot of our
I'm sure you survived and overcame a lot of challenges, and here we are, 2023, and you're still here, and you're still cooking, and it looks like you've gone into the first dish, which is I'll let you tell us all about it. And guys, if you haven't been to Trinity Place, hopefully this demo will change your minds. We have a lot of questions already queued up. Chef, I'll let you start cooking, and please explain to us what you're doing as you go.
Great, it's my favorite thing. I'd rather cook than talk. So the first dish is going to be the onion tart. So we have this onion tart has been on our menu since day 1, since 2006, since we opened. And it is Craig's favorite dish. So he asked me to, Craig from Downtown Alliance, he asked me would I feature this, and said no problem. So it's basically it's an onion tart. So it's I'll show you the dish. I pre-baked the pastry and I'll explain it afterwards. So it's like a deep wheat dish. It's based, as you said, it's based in kind of like a tart flambe, which is more of a flat kind of pizza style flatbread but it has creme fraiche and it has caramelized onions and bacon that comes from Alsace. But this is a more just my version of it. So what we do is we start off with onions, lots of onions. Now in the recipe it says Vidalia onions, which is a sweet onion. You can also use Maui. Maui is another sweet onion that you'll find in the market. Vidalia seem to be they're more common. But if you can't find, when I say sweet, it just means they have a little more sugar content than than a regular onion. So it just helps to bring out the natural sugars when you caramelize it. But if you can't find either of those onions, a Spanish onion will work just fine. The big Spanish onions, try and avoid the white onions because they're a little bit too strong. They're more acidic than sugary. So a Spanish onion will work just fine. And as you can see, I just peeled them. You leave the root on, and I'm just slicing from the opposite side of the root. Now you don't have to, you can cut them as fine as you can, but you don't have to be too specific about it. But lots of onions is the key to it, and it takes a while for them to caramelize down. I'm going to switch on my pan here. Now at home, obviously we're cooking on big ranges here, so we have a lot more BTUs than like a home cook, but you can do these in small batches. So if you don't have a big pan, obviously you don't have a big pan like this. If you have a Crusade or a Dutch oven, they're great. So a heavy or a cast iron, that's what you want to use. You want to get a lot of heat. And if it's too much onions, you can do the onions in 2 batches. So you caramelize the onions once, take them out, and then you start off. So basically, when you're doing any sort of caramelization, once you get your pan really hot, we start off with a little olive oil, just so the butter doesn't burn. So I start off with a little olive oil, and then we will add some butter, and then we'll add the onions, and we'll start caramelizing. So we start off on a high heat to build up the color, and then as they start cooking, we'll turn it down. So we start off on a high heat first, and then we turn it down, and then season aggressively at the beginning. Like all cooking, you've probably seen in all the other shows, you want to season at the beginning all the time, very important, and then you can correct the seasoning at the end. But all the ingredients need salt and pepper to bring out the flavors, no matter what you're cooking. So that's that. So once that's getting hot, I'm going to start caramelizing the onions, and once they're caramelizing, we can start on the beef and Guinness. We can start that process. One thing I do want to mention is the blind baking. So blind baking is similar to, if you're making a pie, if you're making a sweet pie, it's the exact same process. So I use cut pastry, but you can use shortcut pastry, works as well. Or you can even buy, one of those shortcut pre-baked pastries in the store. If you don't want to deal with pastry, will work as well, because it is a savory, just no sugar, and it's just a savory tart. So blind baking, if anybody's not aware, but blind baking means to cook the tart before any cooked foods goes in. So if you put the raw onions, you put the cooked onions in on top of the raw pastry, it's just won't cook in the bottom, and it'll be all flabby. So what you do is you cook the pastry. As you can see, it gets caramelized, and that's kind of your vessel. So all the juices get held inside. So to make a blind baking, it's just like any other pastry. You line your pan with lots of butter and flour, knock out the extra flour, put your pastry on top. If you're using cut pastry from the store, you just roll it out a little bit. Or if you're using shortcut pastry that you make yourself, the exact same concept as if you're making a pie. So the blind baking part is parchment paper. So you put a little parchment paper, and I'll show you how to make that in a second. And you can use rice. I'm using black beans, whatever kind of beans you have. You don't have to buy, anything special for it. So anything that's in the house that's not going to burn. So a dry bean, any sort of dry bean or rice will work. Okay, so my pan's getting hot. It's going to add a little more oil, a little bit of butter, and I'm going to go onions straight in.
Notice how hot that pan is, guys. When you're cooking large quantities or you want a lot of flavor, you need super high heat. This is probably the biggest difference between how professional chefs cook and home chefs cook. Okay. And look at the caramelization already starting to happen.
So again, you want to season right away. Fresh pepper always, if possible. I mean, you can use the pre-ground, but pepper loses its flavor right away as soon as it's ground. So you want that fresh flavor from a pepper mill, but you can use the pre-ground. It's not essential.
Chef, I'm just gonna underline what you said. I've said this for going on 30 years now. Get a pepper mill. It's not that hard. It's actually the hardest part is just buying the pepper mill. Once you've got that, everything is much easier. Pre-grinding pepper takes much more effort than it does to fill a pepper mill. And it's always ready. It's always just sitting on your counter, and they work really well. And the essential oils of peppercorns dissipate into thin air the minute you crack them. So if you want that fresh pepper taste, you gotta crack it yourself. Pepper mill is the best way to do it.
Yep.
Chef, what's
okay,
your favorite brand of peppermill? Is it a Peugeot?
It is a Peugeot, yes. How did you guess?
Yeah.
They make good bikes. They used to make good bikes as well. I used to have a Peugeot road bike back in Ireland, but they make the best peppermills, definitely. But there's lots of them on the market. But Peugeot are the Rolls Royce, to use the pun, of peppermills in the kitchen. So I just want to show you how to make like a little sort of a hack for making this fella here. So to make it nice and round, nothing too complicated. Just get a piece of parchment paper. It doesn't have to be this size, like the regular size. You fold it in half again, so it's in quarters, and then just fold it over like this. So you're making a little, I don't know if you can see that, sorry, no, you can't see, there we go. You fold it over into a little cone, like shape like that, kind of like you're making an airplane. So fold it over, you go half, and then fold it over like that. And then you just put the point into the center of where the pie is going to be. So that's going to be your center, and then you leave a little overlap of maybe about an inch right here, and just pare it away. You don't even need scissors or anything. And then when you open it up, you have a perfect circle. Very simple. Just pretend if my pastry is raw, you would have the raw pastry underneath. You put the parchment paper in there, and then you have your beans, and then you add your beans, and you bake it like this. So when it doesn't. You bake it like this. You're going to bake it inside for I think it's 10 or 15 minutes in the recipe, and then what's important after that is to take it out. So that's the outsides will cook while what this does here is actually it keeps the pastry from rising. So that's what the beans are for. But then at the end, you want to take it out and give another 5 or 10 minutes like this, just to cook the pastry on the bottom. You take the beans out, as the recipe says at the end, and let it cook all the way. So that's the blind baking part. You can see the onions here. See the way they're getting that color like that? So that's what you're looking for.
I do. It's going super fast.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we have the luxury of lots of BTUs on our stoves here, but at home, at somebody's home, just use smaller amounts. If you don't put that much amount of onions, you can do it in halves, which works just fine because it's all going into a bowl afterwards. I'm going to leave it go a little bit more and get a little bit more color. And then I'll turn it down. And what we want to do is we want to soften the onions. So the onions, they won't cook. The onions won't cook once they go in the oven at the end. The onions have to be cooked all the way here. And then when they go back into the oven with the cheese on top, it's basically just to set it and to melt the cheese. So you want to cook them all the way. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. So while they're working away, I'm going to start on the beef and Guinness. So beef and Guinness,
Chef, is this a dish you would find in Ireland if you went to Dublin? Can you ask for this? Would they laugh you out of the pub or? Yeah. Okay.
No. You'd find it in Trinity Place right now. It's on our menu. So we have it on the menu. It's not because of Paddy's Day. It's just it's a huge favorite of our clientele. We have a beef and Guinness. We have a few Irish dishes that we keep on the menu just for, we're all Irish and Scottish. We have a business partner, Katie, as well, who's from Glasgow. So we're all Celts. So we have a few nods to the old country on the menu at all times. And they're great just at lunchtime because the great thing about it, people at lunch downtown, they're in a hurry. It's not like the days of, 3 cocktail lunches are gone. So they're in a hurry. So beef and Guinness, it's an easy pickup. And in the winter, obviously we don't have it in the summer. It's a comfort dish. It'll be coming off the menu right after Paddy's Day, Paddy's week. So yes, so it is on the menu at the moment in Trinity. And also, just so before I forget, next week is St. Patrick's week. So we're going to have specials on in Trinity Place for the whole week. So we'll have the corned beef and cabbage, corned beef sandwich, beef and Guinness, shepherd's pie as specials for the whole St. Patrick's week. And then Friday is the big day. Friday is St. Patrick's Day. And falls on a Friday, so hopefully that'll be a good day. Normally people, they don't have to worry about getting up the next day, so hopefully we'll be busy. And it's our first post-COVID, full post-COVID St. Patrick's Day, thank God. So fingers crossed we'll be back to normal. So come join us either during the week for the specials or on St. Patrick's Day. We'll have music and we'll have the crack, as we say in Ireland. Okay, so the onions are still going.
Put me down for a table. I'll be there.
Okay, and I find the Guinness, of course. Okay, so the onions, see the color there? I'm just going to turn them down to a medium heat at this edge. So we're going to soften them up. So I'm going to turn them down to a medium heat while we do the beef and Guinness. So beef and Guinness, you get mise en place. Okay. So this is pretty straightforward, but it's a lot of stews. It means kind of most stews have the same kind of concept when you're cooking them. So the first thing is seasoning again. You want to season aggressively. So I'm using beef chunks or beef shoulder. So you want it lean, but not. It depends. Sometimes you can ask your butcher to take the fat off. You want to make sure there's no gristle on it, the white. You can have a little bit of fat in. But this is fine. It's finely marbled. So you want to make, what it does is see, that's fine. You can have a little bit of fat in there, which is good. You want to make sure the gristle is off the top part. But your butcher should be able to do that. You can pretty much in the stores get it cleaned. The thing about beef chuck is tons of flavor. It takes a long time to cook, but it's got all the flavor that a fillet doesn't have. And it's, reasonably cheap and has a lot of flavor. The seasoning, this one you have to aggressively season. It looks like, oh my God, that's too much salt, but this all cooked into the beef over the 2 hours, hour and a half of cooking. That's the pepper. And then what we do is we toss it in a little flour. So this is our thickening agent. So you can add this at the beginning. So this will thicken the sauce later on. So you're basically just coating the beef in Guinness, or the beef. So season first, then add the flour. And this will be your thickening agent. And when you cook it from the beginning, it cooks out. So all the starch cooks out, but it does its job of thickening your sauce. So you don't have to add, anything at the end. And then we're going to get this pan, the same concept as we spoke about. So we're going to get this pan really hot. Again, if you have a crusade or a heavy crusade or a Dutch oven, is a perfect vessel for this, because then the whole thing can go in. Obviously, this is a restaurant size. Putting in this container. But at home, you're going to be doing this with Dutch oven or with something with a lid that the whole thing can go in your oven. Or you can do it on the stove, actually. If you don't have an oven, this can be cooked on all the way in the stove, or it can be finished in the oven, depending which one works for you. And give me a stir. Okay, so again, same concept. I'm going to get this really hot, some oil. Get a nice smoking again. So once you see that little smoke, you don't want it to catch it on fire, but you want a little shimmer. When you see it kind of not even smoke, it's a lot more like a shimmer. Once that shimmer comes up, it's hot enough. And if you put it into a cold pan, it just steams itself and kind of all the juices come out. So you want to have you're trying to get that color on the outside. It's those two things. It sears all the flavors inside, the brownness, and also give the deep color to your sauce. So it's beginning. You can see it there. It's begin to shimmer. So I'm going to go in. And again, I have a big pan. You probably have to do this in 2 stages in your Dutch oven. Okay, a little dry, so I'll add a little oil. And then the onions are still going here as well. But, you can see where they're almost soft and all that sugar is coming out now. The beef, you want to don't move it around too much at the beginning. So you let it sit and let it get some color before you turn it. So just leave it sit and then turn it and get color on all sides. When it's colored on all sides, we'll take it out and we'll continue with the vegetables. And then we go.
Yeah, you want that Maillard reaction to occur at this point to develop a deep flavor. The sweetness that you'll get in this stew will largely come from the browning of the beef and, of course, all the other aromats and sauces and liquids that he puts in.
Right.
In the industry, we call it ripping hot. That's what we say when you want something super hot.
Yeah. Then as far as it's going to take a couple of minutes. You want to
and Chef, do you like to keep your vegetables in there? The vegetables part of the finished dish for you, or are they a mirepoix that you throw away later?
No, the vegetables stay in there. That's all part of the one pot stew. So like I said, it's comfort food. So everything stays in the pot. So it adds all that flavor. You can leave. There's mushrooms in this recipe. But you can leave the mushrooms out, they're just added at the end, so they're not necessary, and they're just more of an addition. You can see
And Chef, would this qualify as a Dublin stew or an Irish stew? Is it a type of?
No, Irish stew, that's a common misconception. Irish stew is made with lamb. So Irish stew is not a beef stew. Irish stew is made with lamb and it's made with a clear broth. It's actually delicious. So when you make an Irish stew, you make it with lamb shoulders, the same would be like lamb chuck, and it's with a broth. So it's like a thyme infused broth. And you would you actually boil the beef. It's more of a poached dish, and it has potatoes. And now there's some people don't like carrots. Traditionally, there's no carrots in, it's only green. But an Irish stew, as in traditional Irish stew, is with lamb. So beef and Guinness would be more, it's, I'm not necessarily saying it's a Dublin stew, but it's more of like a beef stew. If you play on, like a Belgium have a similar one. They call it carbonade. So it's a Belgian beer stew. So it's, if you go to Belgium anytime, they have an incredible stew called a carbonade. It's basically a beer braised beef stew, which is exact same as this, except instead of using Guinness, they use beautiful Belgian ale, like a triple ale. But it's baked low and slow, and basically the same concept. Okay, so the beef is colored. I'm going to take it out, and I'll show you where we're at. You can see that color there. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that beautiful brown color. So it's all cleared off. So you take your. You can use a spoon. Don't do this. When you're at home, use a spoon. The crusade will be too heavy. And then we use that pan. So all that flavor, the flavors left in the pan, is really important. So you want to keep that in there. You want to see what happens next. So I'm going to turn the pan down. And this is where we start with the vegetables. We're going to start with the onions first. This is where the butter can go in. So butter is good for sweating, bringing the flavor out. And we'll start with our onions first. So the dice, you don't have to be too specific about the dice. If you want them larger, want them smaller, the vegetables go in at the beginning, so they're going to cook anyway. The beef obviously takes longest to cook. So if you don't like big vegetables, you can cut them a little smaller, not too small. This would be the smallest I go. But again, you can go a little bigger if you like them a little more chunky. So the butter again, a little flavor. And the onions. And we're going to season again here. Even though we season the beef, we're going to season the vegetables. So you want to season at every stage. We're just going to cook the onion until they're a little translucent. Then we'll add in.
Chef, how hot did you get the butter before you added the first vegetables?
It was a little less than I did for the onion, so it was a little less caramelized. It was just beginning to melt a little color. There's obviously a lot of residual heat in the pan from the beef, so it doesn't take long. So you're basically just melting. Just as it starts turning, like it bubbles up, you want to put the onions in. So what the butter does as well is it takes all that fond, that beautiful bit from the bottom. That comes off the bottom. That's where all the flavor is. So the onions are fine. There's no garlic in the beef stew. You could add garlic. I mean, garlic is not, unfortunately, it's not an indigenous vegetable to Ireland, so we didn't cook with it, but that's just the way it was. But you could add garlic to it. There'd be no problem adding a few cloves of garlic. So the vegetables are going to go in right now. And turn the heat back up a little bit. And again, I'm going to season at this point. And while this is cooking down, I'm going to finish the beef is reserved here. I'm going to finish the onion tart so we can get that in the oven. So the onion tart is basically just going to make our mix. Now there's 2 eggs in the recipe, but if you don't, you can just do 1 egg. The egg is basically to bind it. If you don't want too much eggs in it, you can just do 1. I'm actually going to go with 1 here because they're large eggs and they're expensive. You probably all know eggs went through the roof like everything else. You just eat your egg. We're going to add the cream. So it's a quarter cup of cream. And this is just to bind the onions when they go in the oven. So it's all going to be mixed in with the onions. So the onions we are going to mix in a bowl. So our vegetables are just cooking down there at like a medium heat. So this is the onions that we caramelized off. You can see how much they cooked down, how much we started with and how much we finished with. So that was 4 medium to large sweet onions. And now we add the egg mixture and a little chopped thyme. So thyme is so you want your beautiful thyme, just pull them off the stalk. You don't want the stalk, so you just when you're doing thyme, you just pull it backwards. That's a quick way of getting it off. So you just pull the stalk backwards. Keep the stalk first. Something else if you're making the stock. So the thyme is just finely diced thyme. You can put, as little or as you want to avoid rosemary. It's a bit too strong, but thyme gives a nice little flavor. And then a touch of cayenne just gives it a little. It came out a bit fast, so I'm going to put a tiny bit. Cayenne just gives that little residual heat in the back just to bring the flavors forward. We'll add in our egg and cream mixture. And we will we're going to mix it all up like this. This is going to go back into the blind bake. And then we're going to cook this in the oven to let it set. And then we'll finish with the grated Gruyere cheese. So you don't want it too wet. That's what you're looking for there. So one egg's probably enough for that recipe. A large egg or 2 small eggs, I guess. Okay. Sorry, let me turn that around. So as you can see, it's a perfect amount. Just fits right into your pastry. If you love onions, you want more onions, put more onions in. Use a deeper dish. If you like more pastry than onions, you just reverse that. You can do a more shallow dish and a little less onions, which would be more like the tart flambe style. So this is going to go in the oven. Just set it. While that's setting, we can finish our beef and Guinness. So I think we're ready right now. Got a nice flavor in the vegetables. So this is one of the most important ingredients I think anyway, in cooking stews and the mother sauces. Tomato paste. Tomato paste gives a really deep flavor to any kind of braised dish. Like any braised dish you eat, like an ossobuco or any type of braised dishes, there's a tomato paste in there somewhere. What it does is it's got a really intense flavor. You don't need a lot of it, but it gives also color. That's why you cook it for 3 or 4 minutes. Kind of caramelizes a little bit, so it adds color to your sauce, but it also gives a really deep flavor. And it's not like it's got a tomatoey flavor. It just has this kind of umami thing going on. So you want to cook that with your vegetables. Again, scrape off the bottom. Cook that for a couple of minutes. You want to get a bit of color on the tomato paste, and then we add the goodies. So it says in the recipe, it says a glass of red wine, but that is just a suggestion. So you can add, 2 glasses or half a glass. But so it's red wine and Guinness. So this Guinness in the store, we use our draft Guinness here, but it's actually better from a bottle. You just don't serve bottles here. This is the draft that they have. So you can also get the stout that's in like the non-draft stout, but there are most off license have it. They do have them in the cans, the draft cans. I've actually started making them now with drafted bottles. So you get a 6-pack because you definitely need one to have with your beef and Guinness. So we're gonna put one in. Basically, this is called the glazing hat. All that sizzle. So you're basically glazing. You're taking everything off the bottom. You can add some wine. Again, there's probably about a glass and a half of wine here, which is fine. And then we're going to reduce that. You can see the color already. The color that produced, like that's from the caramelization and also from the tomato paste. And then you're going to scrape everything off the bottom, all that beautiful flavor right here. We're going to reduce that by half, so you're cooking off the alcohol content in it. And then we put in our chicken stock. There is a slight variation on the menu that the recipe that you have. It says 1 cup of chicken stock. It should be 2 to 3 cups of chicken stock. So just, I think the guys are going to be sending out an amended version. So it says 1 cup of chicken stock, but you want a little more than that. So 2 to 3 cups. You can use beef stock, or we use chicken stock. We use veal stock, but it's chicken stock is fine because there's lots of flavor going on in there already. One thing I forgot to add the mustard before this, but the mustard can go in now. So a little Dijon mustard that can go in just with the beer and the wine. Dijon mustard just adds that lovely. Traditionally, this wouldn't be in an Irish beef and Guinness. Dijon mustard, it'd be more in it would be in the carbonate actually. That would be in the Belgian one, but the mustard just adds a lovely deep flavor. Good.
I forgot to talk about the third dish on the menu. It's a chocolate dish. Am I right?
Oh yeah, it's the best for last. Just making a very simple chocolate truffle. So it's just a classic truffle ganache. And people are always surprised about how easy to make. I bring these to dinner parties all the time, and people go mad for them. But it's simple as it's just basically a basic chocolate ganache with Irish whiskey. But you can use any alcohol. Mainly dark alcohols work better, like amaretto or any type of that. Frangelico is a nice one as well, but Irish whiskey works really well with us. So we're just going to make a chocolate ganache. I'll show you how to make a ganache, and then I have some, and then I'll show you how to roll them. But they're very, very simple and delicious. So that we'll do that after the beef goes in. So here we go.
I'm excited about that. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
So you see the color that it has already?
Yes.
That's from our caramelization and from our tomato paste. Now chicken stock will go in now. We'll just bring this to the boil. And then we'll add our beef in. Now the beef has the flour around on it, so that will thicken it up. So we're going to bring this to the boil, put the beef in, bring it to the boil again, and then into the oven. Again, if you can finish this on the stove at home. If you don't have an oven, or the ovens, if you're using it as shoe storage, like a lot of New Yorkers do, you can finish it all the way on top. You can finish all the way on top of the stove. It's simple. With a Dutch oven, like that's why the lids, you're creating the same thing. It's just steaming inside. So you're going to turn it down to a low heat and just cook it low and slow. So it is pretty easy.
So as long as it's covered, it's a braise. As long as it's covered in liquid and both covered on top, the pot is covered, you consider it a braise.
Exactly. It's wet cooking, as a braise. So it's low and slow. You use it for all the tougher meats, but the meats with all the flavor, like a lamb shank, ossobuco, any of the stews. It's all kind of a wet braise. So it turns all that tough meat, the muscle meat that has all the flavor. It turns this into like really flavorful, tender meat. So this is coming to the boil. We're going to add the meat back in. I'm going to bring it to the boil again. There's one ingredient here as well, Worcestershire sauce, which is not traditionally in a beef and Guinness necessarily. It's more of a British addition. But Worcestershire sauce is an incredible umami flavor. It just adds, for any sort of sauce or stew, it adds this beautiful umami flavor. It's a British sauce. Lee and Perrins, I'm sure everybody's in cocktails. Everybody's familiar with Lee and Perrins. That's Worcestershire sauce. But it's made with like tamarind, malt vinegar, and anchovies. But it has this really deep umami flavor that you don't need a lot of it, but just adds this, lovely flavor to the stew.
And just for the record, how do you pronounce it?
Worcestershire.
So, is it Worcester? It's 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Worcestershire. Yeah. Worcester. Yeah.
Worcester. Yeah. There's 2 spellings.
Yeah. It seems a word cloud for most people. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a tongue twister, all right. Worcester sauce. Is Worcestershire? Like it's Worcestershire is like I think where it's from originally, but I think it's been shortened to Worcester sauce. So,
but I know they pronounce Leicestershire Leicester. So why not Worcestershire Worcester?
I'm Irish. You'll have to ask the English why they named why different spellings for different things. But you're right. It is.
But it is one of the greatest condiments ever made.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. Okay, so beef is boiling. Going to add the Worcestershire, the Worcester sauce, whichever you want to call it. And then we will go straight on. Again, you probably won't be doing this at home, transferring it, but I am. It's just too big. Now, there we go. Everything in. And because we're not using a Dutch oven, we obviously cook in bulk here. We just do it like, we cook it in 20-pound batches, so there's always a big like hotel pan. And we just cover it in foil. We cover it in foil. We'll go into an oven, 375, 425, it's like a medium hot oven for 1.5 to 2 hours. So after 1.5 hours, or you want to just check the beef. You want to check the beef that it's tender. So you're looking for pork tender. Try not to use a fork, because try and use a small knife. It's more accurate. So if you have like a small paring knife, if we're not paring knife or even a skewer, when that goes through the beef with no resistance, you're ready. But you don't want to overcook it either, because then it'll fall apart. So you're just looking for minimal resistance for the beef when you put a paring knife in, and then you're ready. And then you just check the seasoning. So we don't have time for that to cook. We have one here that we're going to show to plate later on. But as far as the cooking, you're just going to check the seasoning at the end. So when the beef comes out and you're satisfied that it's tender enough, just check the seasoning. It'll probably need a little bit more salt and pepper. Normally what you want to do is be able to, we call it correct the seasoning, is to check it at the end. So it needs just a touch more, and you'll be good to go. All right, so the onion tart. So it's been in there for 10 minutes. It's beginning to set. Needs a little longer, and it's just got the grated cheese on top. So I'm going to give it a little longer. Again, your ovens, everybody's ovens are different. So with these recipes, like any recipe, they're good guidelines, but depending on what you're cooking with, you just want to test it. So you want that onions to be set, that mixture to be set, the eggs and the cream have set. So when you cut it, it'll stay in a nice piece. The way we serve it in the restaurants, and you can do if you're having a dinner party, you can cook it the day before, because obviously we cook them in bulk, we cook them in big pans. We cook them the day before, and then we portion them in little pies. So when we get an order, we just finish them in the oven. So you get a nice little kind of slice of pie, finish in the oven, the cheese melts again, you get a nice caramelization on the cheese, and we serve with a little creme fresh, some oven dried tomatoes, and some greens and some pickled red onion. So if you have a dinner party, you can either serve it straight like this, or it'll be very hard to portion when it's warm. So you definitely want to let it set, but you can cook it the day of, but let it set for an hour or two before you serve it, or cook it the day before, and then it'll go cold. You can cut into nice little pie shaped, sizes, put them in, and then heat them up like that in the oven. Right, so we're almost.
And this would be an appetizer, maybe an appetizer or a side dish. How do you serve this?
It's an appetizer, exactly. So we use that as an appetizer. So we have it as an appetizer in Trinity Place. It'd be a beautiful appetizer for a dinner party. You can cut whatever. It's quite rich, so you don't need a big portion. Okay, so we have.
Do you happen to have a finished tart, or?
I don't have a finished part here with me, but we will. We will be finishing.
No worries.
Yeah, we will be finishing this.
Got it.
But
okay. And how long does the beef stew take?
The beef stew normally takes like an hour and a half. I have a beef stew here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do have a beef stew that we're going to place. So we're going to just chocolate truffles quickly. Ganache.
Nice.
People can be very, very wary of chocolates making ganache, but it's very, very simple. So
most people are terrified of this. So show us how easy it is.
Yeah, and this chocolate. So it's all about the chocolate. It's all about the quality of chocolate. Do you want a really good quality chocolate? So this is 60% Cabbio. So most, like Italy, where we're in the neighborhood, Italy have great dark chocolates, or a lot of, even Whole Foods have good, but you want milk chocolate doesn't work for this. You need a good dark chocolate, 60% or above. So if you want to like it more bitter, get a 70%. But it's all about the quality. This dish is the quality of the chocolate. So Belgian or French or Swiss chocolate is what you're looking for. We use Cabbio. So all you're doing is it's very, very simple. You're just putting the cream, the sugar, and the vanilla essence. Sorry, vanilla essence in a pan. and you're just going to bring it to a boil. And you're going to pour it over the chocolate, and that's the key. It's poured over the chocolate. You don't put the chocolate in the pan, because if you put the chocolate in the pan, it can crack. You know, you can be too much heat for the chocolate. So if you can't buy them in these, we get them in these little pellets. I think they sell them in little pellets now retail, but even if not, you just want to cut them into small sizes like that. You want like a tiny, maybe a quarter
Can
of
we
an
get a
ounce
second
size.
look at that so they
Yep,
really understand
yep.
what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the
they're
pellets.
little wafers. Yep.
They're like little buttons. Yeah, they come like little buttons. And if you're buying a piece, if you're buying a block or a small piece of block, you just cut them into like that. You can just cut them small. Just make sure they're, you know, roughly the same size. They don't have to be. It just means they'll melt. They'll melt at the same time. So what we're going to do is this is very important. Water and chocolate does not mix at all. It's like oil and water, so it cracks it. Even if there's a speck of water in your pan, chocolate will crack, and you'll get a grainy chocolate. You won't get a smooth chocolate. So you want to make sure your pan is spotless. You put your chocolate inside. Your cream and sugar is coming to the boil. Couldn't be simpler. That's coming to the boil right now. We're just going to give it a quick whisk.
Is it amazing how much faster, when you guys are probably watching the chef thinking, how is he going so fast? And part of it is his immense skill, but another part of it is the tremendous amount of heat that he has in his ovens. Look, that's 100,000 BTUs probably, or at least 40,000.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot stronger than what we have at home. I have the same problem in my apartment, though. It frustrates me endlessly when I'm trying to cook. So all you're doing, see, this is very important now. You just let it sit, and just let the hot cream do its work. And then you're gonna whisk it and see what's gonna happen. It's so beautiful. See that shiny color? That's what you're looking for. That's a ganache. That's simply a ganache right there. So what you're looking for is that shiny color.
In case you missed it, he poured the hot cream over the cold buttons of chocolate, and it just melted.
Yeah, and then the whiskey goes in. Again, you can add as much or as little as you like for the flavor, and you just add the whiskey cold right in, and that's basically it. And it's set. So I'll show you one now. I have set from yesterday. So you want to set it overnight. So this is definitely a day before job. You see that silky color? That's what you're looking for. If it's not silky, it means if it's dull, it means probably some water got into the process, and so it's a very simple process. Just don't let water get involved, and then simply we're coming to the end here, so I will speed it up. I'm going to show you how to roll the truffles. So you see, this is set. This is one we made yesterday, set overnight, which is important. And you can use a melon ball, or we just use a teaspoon. A pair of gloves. You don't have to use gloves, but it's a messy process. And you just pull it back towards yourself. You can make them whatever size you want, but I love this part. I mean, your kids will love this too. It's a great thing to do with your kids. You make a little ball, and you roll it in cocoa powder. Again, you want like a good quality cocoa powder, a bitter cocoa powder. So, because that just adds to it. And again, they don't have to be perfect size. You can make them bigger or smaller, but tend to make them. This is what we serve in the restaurant, this size. And you get that beautiful.
And Chef, if you could just emphasize, I know people are looking at this thinking, I could never do this in a million years. Yes, you can. This is it looks complicated, and it is. There's some complicated culinary, theory and science happening, but it's easy to execute.
It's the most simple dessert we have on our menu, and it's one of our tops. I mean, alongside we have a sticky toffee pudding, which is incredible, but it's not easy to make. So I wouldn't be putting you through that torture. So it's this chocolate truffles, like I said, I've just made a portion there. We serve 5 as a portion. When we serve them in the restaurant, you just want to shake off. Basically, you just shake off when you take them. You shake off the excess cocoa powder, like if you're serving to your guests. Put them in a nice little cocktail glass, little icing sugar on top. Boom, you got a beautiful dessert. So there's your chocolate truffles. Okay.
Guys, if you're watching and all you do is pick up this truffle technique, it was well worth it. That right there is years of studying that he whittled down into 30 seconds of work.
And Rocco, I don't know if it's like you. I have an incredibly sweet tooth, and every kitchen I ever went in when I was a young lad, I used to make friends with the pastry chef right away. And I used to be down there. I'd give them something, and then they'd let me taste stuff, and then I'd ask them for their recipes, which was a harder thing to get off them. But
Yeah, they would never
So,
give them to you,
sorry.
though, right?
Yeah, well, I got a few. Here, so you see it's almost set there. So there we go. And it will set more. When it's cold, it'll set. So here's Craig's favorite part. Lots of Gruyere cheese. Don't be shy with this.
Oh, that
Keep
looks
it in the
good.
center. So you can put more or less, but you want a good crust of cheese. Now you can use, if Gruyere is great. It's a Swiss, like a proper Swiss cheese from the mountains, so it's a bit more high fat content. So that's what you're looking for. Don't do this with cheddar cheese. Definitely. Well, yeah, no, it's not a cheddar cheese. It's definitely a Gruyere cheese, or it's a nice Swiss cheese. I'm gonna finish that in the oven, and then we'll take it out and you can see. Okay, so I just want to show you how we place the beef in Guinness. There's two ways. I'm going to show you how we plate it in our restaurant, and how you can do a nice presentation at home for your guests. And then we have the. Okay. So first of all, here's one way of doing this. You can do like a traditional pie. So what you want to do is you can have like an onion tart pot, like an onion tart dish or some sort of bowl. Some puff pastry. You just turn it upside down, put a little bit more, and then you can fill. You want to heat. You always want to make sure that your beef and like your meat mixture is hot, because it won't heat up enough in the oven just by cooking the pastry. So it has to be hot before it goes in. So just fill that up. You can a little egg wash, and this is again if you have a dinner party and you want to make 6 portions and make it beautiful. We don't do it in the restaurant because it takes too long. People are in a hurry, so I'll show you the way we do it. And then you're just going to put it, egg wash the edges, and you're going to just press it on the side. And the last part is very important. You cut a little scores, open it up so the steam can come out. So the steam will come out. You egg wash the top. And then you bake it in the oven until it's golden brown. This will take 10 to 15 minutes. Your stew will be really, really piping hot. You'll have this beautiful crust on top. And it will be a nice presentation. The way we serve in the restaurant is a little deconstructed. We make a nice mashed potato. Just a quick one, and we have the mash pre-made, but when you're making mashed potato, always just a hint is to dry the potatoes. Always make sure the potatoes have no water in them. So when you boil them and you strain them, let them strain, put them back in the pot for 2 or 3 minutes in low heat, and let all the excess moisture steam out of them, and they get really fluffy, and you get a beautiful mashed potato puree. So and then it's lots of butter and heavy cream, which obviously is very important.
That looks amazing. Oh, my mouth is watering. I'm going to come in just for a bowl of mashed potatoes.
And a pint of Guinness. Wash it down.
Are those the boulet potatoes?
No, not quite. You used to put them through the chinois, like you have to push them through a chinois, and they were like, yes. They're not quite that involved. So puff pastry, we pre-make a little puff pastry cap. So again, it should be just cut a circle, egg wash it the same way, heat it up, and then we just put it on top, and then you will see how you can have it in Trinity Place next time you come by, hopefully tomorrow. It's out of the way. I'm going to get the onion tart out. Now we're coming up against time here. So the onion tart's going to melt right now. Like I said, the onion tart you can let rest. If you want to cook it that day, you can let it rest. Don't use it straight out of the oven. Let it rest for a couple of hours, and then you can portion it or do it ahead of time. Then when it's cold, portion it, get it up to room temperature, and then finish in the oven. The cheese will melt beautifully. The pastry cap. The parsley, very simple. I mean, it's not, comfort food doesn't have to be ugly food either. It's got all the flavor. And then the truffles I will show you.
That dish looks incredible. My mouth is still watering. I literally can't wait to come in and try that. So March 17th, I'll see you all there. Hopefully everyone who's watching will join us as well. Chef, I know you're plating. I know you're plating like furiously. We've got so many questions. I want to get to a few of them, if you don't mind. While you're finishing up there, while you're finishing up there, we have someone anonymous from Ireland. I have a feeling it might be a family member of yours wishing a St. Paddy's Day with two green hearts. And then Someone is asking, an anonymous person is asking for wine and beer pairing. So if anything comes to mind, please spit it out. And Wendy sends her love with a big smile. Someone is asking, Suzanne is asking, no, that's private for me. Okay. Anonymous wants to know what your signature dish is. So I'm going to say the beef stew is probably one of them, right?
Well, it would be, but I'd say the one in Trinity, like I said, we have a few Irish dishes, but we have a duck confit and risotto on the menu. We do we confit our own duck.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah. And we do a seasonal risotto.
Amazing. And they want to know, is it a good place for a steak lover? A lot of cuts of steak on the menu?
No, we don't. I'll be the first to admit we don't. We have a fillet steak. We just don't have don't have the proper a proper grill. We're not a steakhouse. I won't. But we do have a fillet steak on the menu. Yeah, we have lots of fish dishes. Yeah,
amazing how everyone just expects everything on every menu now. What kind of salt do you use? They want to know if it's kosher, Morton sea salt.
Yeah, it's great. Kosher salt. So an extra, like a fine, not the super coarse. It's a Morton's. It's actually no, sorry, it's a Diamond Crystal.
Diamond Crystal. Got it. Yep. And what kind of oil did you use to sear the beef? You added a bunch of oil to the pan. Was that I just use oil?
No, I actually use a little extra virgin olive oil, but you can use neutral oil. But I was just using extra virgin olive oil, but you can cut that with some soy oil as well. As far as the pairings, pairings very simple. Pint of Guinness is a classic, but also a good red wine, like a Cabernet or a Syrah. You want a big wine, a red wine will go really well first. And then lastly, so the onion tart. So you can see the way it's going. That's what we're looking at right here now.
Yeah.
So it needs a little longer, but it'll melt a little bit longer. But then when it settles, you can cut it into little pies. So you can get probably 8 portions out of that.
So you serve a wedge of that with a little salad and some sun-dried tomatoes or oven-dried tomatoes?
Yeah, and a little creme fraiche. We do a little creme fraiche, which is a nice kind of little tart accompaniment. And also a little pickled red onion. So it's quite a rich dish. So you want to add, so a little bit of acidity just to balance out all the richness.
And Chef Donna Cox wants to know, for the gluten-free people, what flour would you use? Would it be a rice flour or cornstarch?
Yeah, rice flour is perfect. I prefer rice flour over cornstarch, but yeah, rice flour. There's gluten-free flour but rice flour is good. We use quite a bit of rice flour in our kitchens. That's what I would recommend.
And Chef, do you know Mary P? She says,
I do know Mary P.
We'll be by with some cousins. She's coming with some cousins for St. Patrick's Day.
She's a great regular. She lives down the street. She's been coming. She lives on Cedar Street down by the fire station. Hello, Mary. Amazing. She's amazing.
All right. And then Ava Heineman, who is a regular for Dine Around Downtown, wants to know if margarine would work, a plant-based butter to keep it dairy-free.
Yeah, you could. I would probably stay away from the margarine, but you can keep it. You can make it dairy free. Yes, you don't need the butter, by the way. You can leave the butter out altogether. You can make it with oil. This is the beef and Guinness. I'm assuming. So yeah, you don't need to use butter in it at all. As you see, the butter was only with the vegetables. You could leave it totally dairy free and gluten free.
There's a question about vegetarian options. My favorite vegetarian option is a pint of Guinness.
I'm pretty
sure that counts, right, Chef? It certainly does.
All the food groups are represented.
Ava Heineman has a great suggestion. She says, if you don't have chicken stock or beef stock, will instant onion soup work? I have a feeling that would make it great.
Yeah, I probably would give it
what do you think?
A quick, rich flavor. Absolutely, why not?
Yeah.
Like I said, we're not. That would work. As far as the vegetarian, by the way, Trinity, we do have lots of vegetarian options. We're not an Irish restaurant. Just want to make sure we are. We're American European, so we got like 5 or 6 vegetarian and vegan options. If you go to our website, you can see our current menu. So this is obviously for St. Patrick's Day. We're doing something a little different. But yeah, I would just, by the way, before, I'm not sure how, I'd like to thank the guys from down around downtown, Craig, Ron, and Shelley, who set all this up. They've been amazing, and they've been amazing supporters to Trinity Place and the Bailey. We used to have another place close by, and they've been incredible for us small businesses in the area and kept us going. And so I'll say thank you very much for setting this up. It's been a lot of fun.
Aren't they the best? I love working with them as well.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we're moving to the next phase here. Please donate to Feeding America. That is Chef Donal's charity of choice. I've worked with Feeding America quite a bit. I know they do incredible work. I've been at their pantries, their food pantries. I've been on their food lines. I've seen what they do firsthand, and it's extraordinary. So please consider doing that. Don't forget to visit Trinity Place at 115 Broadway in downtown Manhattan, especially for St. Patrick's Day. Make your reservations now, I would say. What do you think, Chef?
Definitely. Better the better. Without a doubt. We also have a place, sorry, I didn't mention, we have a place in Jersey City called Hudson Hound as well. If anybody's on here that lives in Jersey City or in the neighborhood, we opened a restaurant in Jersey City about 2 years ago. So we have a neighborhood spot out here and in Jersey City too.
That's terrific. We have a lot of questions. I assure you we'll get to your questions. We will ask Chef Donal the answers. We will email them to you. Thank you for all of the questions that you've asked. And thank you, of course, for sticking around with us till the end of the demo. Don't forget to post your plate. Participants are encouraged to whip up their best version of a featured recipe. Upload a photo of your plate onto Instagram. Don't forget to hashtag Dine Around at Home and tag Downtown NYC and tag me and Chef Donal and Trinity Place and the Donal Crosbie, which I guess is Chef, and myself, Rocco DeSpirito. We'll be looking for it. Chef will pick a winner, and you'll be entered into a contest to win your own personal cooking class with Chef. And don't forget to join us for Dine Around Downtown Tuesday, June 6th for our annual Downtown Community Food Festival. It's going to be a lot of fun. And stay tuned for special summer episode of Dine Around Downtown Cooking at Home edition. Chef, I don't know how we've worked so long in the same city together for some of the same people and not met in person. I hope to remedy that on March 17th. I hope you'll be there. Thank you so much.
Please. Thanks for having me, Rocco. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, of course, to Shelley, Ron, and Craig, and everyone at the Downtown Alliance. Most importantly, thank you to all of you who join us for every one of these episodes and make this a really special experience. Until then, enjoy the holidays, especially St. Patrick's Day. Over and out for now.